Welcome back. Time, I think, to get back to Harry, who is talking to Jim Redman and Mick Grant.
Jim, back to you. As you say, 6 world titles, but all on 250s and 350s. I mean, your 45 Grand Prix wins. Correct me if I'm wrong, there was 2 or 3 which were on 500s, but the rest were all on a smaller capacity. Why was that? Why were you never up there with the 500s? Did you just not... Did you rather concentrate?
Very simple. That when I joined Honda, it was 125 and 250. We talked them into going 350. They didn't want to know about 500 because you don't sell bikes in Japan that big. And then I nagged them, you know, we want to race 500s. So this 66 was the first time I talked them into it.
But then obviously your crash at, they say, Aston in 66, that basically ended your career.
But what happened was the crash was okay and I was getting better, but I realised that if I finished third in the Ulster and won at Monza and the TT was delayed, I could still be world champion. So I thought I can finish third in the Ulster with one hand. So I went and tried, and I put a thin plaster and I kept my coat on and everything. It was cold, so nobody knew I still had an arm in plaster. And I went out to practice, and you can't ride the Ulster Grand Prix with one hand on a 500 Honda. I thought I could rest it there on the clutch and just use it to start the race. I came in and I was struggling so much, and I pulled my glove off and my hand went out like a stupid hand. And they got my leathers off and my shoulder was out here. They rushed me to hospital and the guys cut in the plaster off and said, I'm going to have to cut your arm off about here. And I said, you cut nothing, you know. He said, gangrene. This is just on the point of gangrene. So he saved me, he saved my arm, but he said a year off. Now, I'm 9 years older than Mike and 11 years older than Agostini. And those were my 2 partners. And I knew that if I stopped for that whole year, I was gone.
You were gone.
So I thought, well, I won the first 2 other races, I crashed on the 3rd one, and I finished second to Mike on the 250 at Washington. So I said, I'm out.
Yeah.
And once I said I retired, I never looked back. I just went away. You know?
Jim got on the Hondas when they were really good. And because I got a contract with Honda in 1979 to develop a new 4-stroke Grand Prix bike.
Oh, the NR 500, yeah.
And we got that, well, not we, Honda got that completely wrong because that was at a time when the 500 2-strokes were at the best.
And this was a 4-stroke.
And we ran a 4-stroke and it had got oval pistons and it was just a nightmare.
I think you managed, wasn't it 300 metres at Silverstone?
I still hold the record. Jim's got a lot more World Championship things than I ever did, but I still hold the record that Jim will never beat. From the start of my first Grand Prix, I did 300 metres before I fell off the outfit.
That's quite a good record to hold.
I'll tell you what, it could be a hard one to beat. But what actually happened is, with the engine, they couldn't. The piston rings were actually quite straight, and a lot of blow-by past the pistons, and it put pressure on the crankcase. And in the first year we ran it, it wouldn't tick over less than 7,000 RPM. That was the idle of it.
Right.
And there was the power band's very, very narrow. And imagine bump starting a bike like that was hard. I missed the first bump. By the time I got it started, my legs had gone. So I jumped on the back of the bike and it was on the back wheel. We never wheeled it before because it never had enough power. I went down I thought, well, just keep on going. So I went down the pit lane, the first, second and third on the back wheel. Unknown to me, it's pumping oil off the back tyre. So, and all the people in the pits can see this back tyre blabbering around. I pitched it in and whoa.
And you were off.
Yeah. I was told after that no more wheelies.
So, obviously, a lot of wins between you. Your best win, what means most to you? Which win means most to you?
I think perhaps when I won the 250 race in Assen.
The Grand Prix?
Yeah. There's a lot of political things why I didn't start the season at the beginning of the year, and it was very satisfying to go and do that, you know.
Okay. Jim, what was your best win?
I think the 250 at Assen the same.
Also?
Phil, the Yamaha was 15 kilometres an hour faster than me down the straights. We were all arguing and they got the police out and timed us. And of course, there's no contest about who's got acceleration on the 2-stroke. And I stuffed my Honda right up the backside of Phil Reed and followed him and then passed him every corner, I think, on the last lap. but I managed to throw it over the line, revving it at 20,000, and I got it over the line, 2 corners. And he said to me that second last corner was a bit rough, because I made up my mind, wherever he put the brakes on, I'm going past. And I went past him with the back wheel locked up and pulling back the gears, and the rev counter was against the stop, 18,000.
Yes.
And I managed to stay on the bike, and then I cracked it and round the corner, round the right-hander, and he passed me like that on the finishing line, and I won the win. So, and I went on to win the 350 and the 125, so I was the first rider in the world to win 3 Grand Prix in one day. So you can't get it better than that. It was a good day at the office.
Yeah. Gentlemen, I could talk to you all day, but I know you've got things that you need to do today, but thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you here again next year.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
Take care.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And good to be with you on the stage.
Thank you, mate.
Jeepers creepers, I kind of feel tired just watching it. I mean, we're not as young as we used to be, Harry, but those blokes, what is it, 85 and 71?
75 and 81, and they look better than we do, and they actually do more than we do.
I thought they're supposed to be retired, but they're still, what? I mean, they're swanning around the world, they're riding bikes all the time.
I mean,
why not, I suppose, is the
absolutely.
question.
I mean, why would you want to stop? I mean, look, I know that Mick Grant still rides a lot of trials, and not a lot of people know, and he mentioned it in the interview, that he was a rider-manager. He managed Christopher Mullen and Steve Plater and Jamie Whittam. So he's kept his hand in, and obviously Jim Redman, he's a Honda ambassador. So he travels the world with them, and he's also very involved in MotoGP. I mean, he mentored Nicky Hayden in his championship year. So they've both got their pulse right, their finger right on the pulse of modern motorsport. It's a shame we ran out of time, because there was so much more I could have talked to them about. But
Listen to him.
I just met 2.
No, exactly. It's fantastic. He met 2 of his heroes, and did it live up to expectations?
Yeah, it really did. Like I said, I could have spoken them to them.
Yeah, all right, shut up now.
Okay.
That's enough of it. We've had plenty of Jim Redman and Mick Grant. Thanks very much for the time to those 2 good gentlemen, and, well, from us 2 not so good gentlemen, we'll be back again next week with more bikes.
And a Zimmer frame.